Dun-dun-dun, 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 dun. Hello, everyone. Good evening, good morning, good morrow, whatever the fuck the time of day is, and welcome, willkommen, to this Doctor Who audio fan commentary, where today I'm joined by Jack the Film Fanatic, and we are going to watch and commentate on Doctor Who, The Ark in Space, starring Tom Baker, the Fourth Doctor, in his second story, second out of 42 stories, might I add, as this is now part of the recently released Season 12 Blu-ray box set. Well, the standard edition is the new release anyway. Yeah, so this is just a fan commentary, so this isn't for financial gain or profit, and we're not doing this for any of that, and also we're just doing this for fun, so we can't show the image for legal reasons, but if you want to follow with us, put your Blu-ray or DVD into zero and press play when we press play. I know it's a bit unorthodox and unconventional, but it's the best we can do. So yeah, the Ark in Space. This is an interesting one. Jack, is there anything you want to say before we begin?
No, just look forward to rewatching this story because it's been a while since I've seen this one.
So there, actually, and I'm interested to see the Blu-ray quality. I mean, I watched Robot, and also we did the Sontaran Experiment a few weeks ago, and that was fun. So yeah, hopefully this one will be good too. Season 12 is a very good season. Anyway, so do you want to do the countdown, or shall I?
I think I'll go.
Okay.
3, 2, 1, play!
Shit. Fuck, sorry, can we do it again?
Sure.
I apologise, sorry. Stupid controller.
The Ark in Space.
It's really hard to
Alright.
pause. Okay, I'm ready now, sorry.
3, 2, 1, go.
Play, bitch! Ooh. Ooh.
Yeah, they added this filter to this episode, which is interesting. Like the title sequence here, like the colors are different to what they are in the other stories because they added this color filter in, but they only used it for this one story.
I was going to say, they're not trying to do a Series 7 Part 1 where they change every single colour in the title sequence.
Yeah. No, they wanted to try this out as an experiment, but yeah. And
this, wow, that's not bad actually for a TV budget.
Yeah, I mean, the model's pretty good, and yeah, of course, this would be the start of the Philip Hinchcliffe era because Barry Letts produced Robot. So I think with this story, you could tell they're going for a more horror tone to Doctor Who, and they're trying to make it more adult.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, this story kind of reminds me a little bit of, I know it was released before the movie, but Alien. It kind of has that sort of similar. The story's a little bit similar in terms of the sort of the way the creature sort of infects them, and the way the ship is designed. The sort of sense of isolation in the story. It always reminds me of Alien. I don't know why, but it just kind of does.
Yeah. Yeah, you're not the only one to point that out. Ridley Scott, at the time the story was made, was working at the BBC, so maybe he took inspiration from this story when he was doing Alien. But yeah, you definitely get that Alien vibe with this story, and I think Philip Hinchcliffe does a really good job here, considering this is his first story as a showrunner. He definitely starts this off on a high. I know Tom Baker said this is his favorite Doctor Who story, and Russell T Davies and even Stephen Moffat had said that Ark in Space is their favorite Doctor Who story of all time. So, I mean, that's got to count for something.
Yeah, you can see why. I mean, Hinchcliffe clearly had ideas about making the show more mature. Going, taking risks and going beyond what you thought the viewers could handle, and I think treating the audience with more respect, because audiences can easily be pandered to, but audiences can also be surprised. And I think Hinchcliffe tried his best to shock and surprise the audience. And Tom is clearly finding his feet in the role as well. I mean, this is only his second story, but he's clearly got a vision for his version of the character.
Yeah, and I think Hinchcliffe and Robert Holmes wanted to, drive this show to a more, mature audience. Like, I mean, I think Robert Holmes said that, Doctor Who was for his version of Doctor Who was more for mature 14-year-olds and adults, and I think, what's interesting about Doctor Who is a lot of people call it a kid's show, but at the time, during Tom Baker's era, 60% of the people who were watching the show were adults. So, I mean, it kind of shows you that they were going for that more mature audience, and I think personally for me, the Philip Hinchcliffe era is the golden age of Doctor Who. I think stories like Ark in Space and Genesis of the Daleks and Terror of the
Certainly the
Zygons.
golden age of the classic series. There's no question about that.
Yeah. It's definitely my favorite era of the show, and Tom's my favorite Doctor. But, yeah, I mean, I think the story is a prime example of why I think this era of the show works so well, because I think Philip Hinchcliffe and Robert Holmes get, what makes the show work.
Yeah, definitely. And actually, the set for this one is really good. It's very simple, but it's executed really well. It gives you the illusion that it's actually a bit better than it probably is, to work on. They shot it in a way that makes it look kind of, I don't know, slightly more grandiose. I mean, does that make sense? It kind of feels a bit more epic.
Yeah, and I like the cast in this story. I think the supporting cast here are pretty good, and I think Robert Holmes did a good job with the script here, because he wrote the script for this story, and yeah, you can definitely see the influence this had on Alien. I think maybe Ridley Scott maybe nicked a few ideas from this, but I mean, watch this on Blu-ray. I think the transfer here looks great. It looks really good on Blu-ray.
Oh, it does. It's great to see the classic series come to life again in HD. I mean, you could argue that you kind of appreciate it more in standard, but I actually like the fact that they cleaned it up. It's even though the effects are cheap in some stories, it's nice to see the details.
And you do have the option for the Blu-ray to watch it with CGI effects, updated effects. So if you're not a fan of the effects for the story, then you can watch it with the CGI effects. But I always usually watch the classic series with the original effects.
Yeah, I mean, fair enough for the new series, they had the CGI, and that's fine. But it's kind of nice to see the original effects and how Doctor Who evolved over its nearly 60-year tenure.
Yeah, and I like the stuff with Sarah Jane here, the Doctor's kind of wondering what's up with her, and she sort of passed out there because of the lack of oxygen. So I mean, I think Tom Baker is really good in this story. I mean, this is, bear in mind, this is only his second story as the Doctor, and I think already, he's found his Doctor. I think already with the second story, he knows what he's doing with the role, and I think he's great here, because I think this story sort of gives him. I mean, I think Robot was very good, but I think this story gives him more room to sort of spread his wings, I guess you could say, as the Doctor. He gets to flex his muscles a bit more. He gets more speeches. He gets more stuff in the story to do, and I think they did a good job here with Tom Baker's Doctor, giving him more screen time and
yeah. And I think you're right, because the script is much better, and not that Robot was bad, but Robot was good. But this is much more what Doctor Who should be. It's sort of intense and terrifying and exciting and funny all at the same time. And look at the Doctor, his performance, he's a little bit terrified of what's going on, to be honest. And the sense of mystery about this one is really good, and this is a really great story. It's definitely a classic.
Yeah, and I think the whole cast here is very good. Like Elizabeth Sladen as well, and Ian Marter, and the people that you meet on board the Ark. And I like the story here, like how it's literally like Noah's Ark from the Bible, but it's in space, and you find out that the Earth, there's been these solar flares in the Earth, so humanity is sort of put itself in cryostasis on board the space station until the Earth is inhabitable again, so they can go back down to Earth. So yeah, I think that works really well, and I think it's definitely much better than the Ark with William Hartnell.
Yeah,
with the
I mean, the Ark
monoids.
is right. It's just weird, like the weird sort of beetle-looking. When I say beetle-looking, I mean like they look like the Beatles, the band, with the weird eyes. The Ark is okay. It's just a bit dull.
Yeah. I think Elizabeth Sladen's performance here is pretty good. Like, she does a good job of convincing the audience that, that she's passed out or whatever, and, she's a bit, being through the mill.
I mean, Liz Sladen is just amazing, She's just great. Sarah Jane, one of the best companions of all time.
Oh dear. Yeah, I mean the HD, the Blu-ray here definitely looks really good for this. You can definitely see the difference in quality from DVD.
Oh yeah, and I think it's about time the classic series all went on Blu-ray, like in the box sets. It's nice.
It's interesting as well. The Doctor, he's trying to get through this trap here, and using a scarf, and then he, uses his hat there.
I mean, I quite like Harry Sullivan, but he's not really. Again, he's not much of a necessary companion, but I know why they had him, because they didn't think Tom was going to be as physical a Doctor as they imagined. So, yeah, in the end, Harry winds up being a bit of a pointless character, but he's still kind of fun, I suppose. He works well with the Doctor and Sarah, but I suppose they didn't need him for more than one season. So, yeah.
Yeah, I was watching the special feature making of Sontaran Experiment last week after we did the commentary, and Tom Baker said he kind of felt bad for Ian Marter because he didn't have much to do in the show, and Ian Marter, like Elizabeth Sladen and Tom Baker said that he was a really smart guy and he was a good actor, and they kind of felt bad for him that he didn't get more to do as a companion, and it's a shame. I mean he died very young as well. He was only like 45 or whatever when he died, so he was pretty young. But I mean, I always appreciate him as Harry. I think Harry's a good character. I mean, the character Rory in the new series kind of reminds me a bit of Harry. Like he's sort of this. I guess you could say this sort of. He's this nice guy who isn't. He's not the brightest guy in the world, but he's loyal. To the Doctor, and
I think actually Harry is he's fairly bright. I mean, he was a doctor, wasn't he? Dr. Harry Sullivan.
Yeah, but I mean, as the Doctor calls him in Revenge of the Cybermen, Harry Sullivan is an imbecile.
At least Harry Sullivan has more credibility than Rory because he doesn't die as much. But Arthur Darvill still acts Rory very well. Maybe we'll commentate on Asylum of the Daleks at some point, Jack. Don't you worry. We'll get to that one at some point.
Yeah, when I'm dead and buried, we'll get to that.
I know. You'd sooner eat your own scrotum.
Yeah. No, I mean, I wouldn't mind doing a commentary on it, but I mean, expect me to rip it to shreds. That's all I'll say.
Go ahead.
Yeah. And words of Clint Eastwood, go ahead, make my day. Yeah. Yeah, no, but I mean, I think I think this season they had a lot to live up to because the John Pertwee era of the show was very popular.
Yeah,
Pertwee is a very popular Doctor. So with this
5 years
season,
as
they
well.
yeah. So with this season, Tom Baker and the new producer really had to prove that, you know, they were right to take over. And I think after, such a long time with John Pertwee, the public it would probably take like maybe a couple of stories for the public to sort of latch on to Baker as a Doctor. But I mean, one thing you notice about this story and this season, and as Tom Baker's era goes on, is that it gets back to sort of the, you know, traveling in time and space because most of Pertwee's era was
Earth.
Earthbound, So I think that kind of freshened up the show as well. Well, the Doctor's got a cricket ball. Lol.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, at least it's more necessary when Davison used it in Fall to Doomsday.
yeah. I mean, it's quite funny. I think Tom Baker liked cricket as well, but the Doctor doesn't sort of become a big cricket fan until the next one. But
Yeah.
But I mean, I really like Tom Baker's outfit in this story. It's probably my favorite outfit that Tom Baker wears in this season, season 12, and I think I think Baker, really, he had a lot to live up to after John Pertwee. He had to prove himself, but I think with Robot on this story, he definitely proved that he could do a good job taking over the show.
Oh yeah, he more than proved himself, and for many, he still remains the best Doctor, including himself. And he'll never be forgotten. Tom was a timeless Doctor, and anyone who dislikes Tom Baker as the Doctor, I'd be very surprised because he generally seems to be one of the most popular among the fans. I mean, his performance is just incredible for all 7 seasons. Even though season 18, he does get a little bit tired, but that no one could blame him really. I mean, with JNT, but there you go.
Yeah, and I did like that line there about his scarf. He's like, "Oh, Madame Nostradamus knitted it for me." Witty little knitter. I mean, in fact, apparently the reason the scarf came about was an accident. They sent a lot of wool to this costume designer, Begonia Pope, and she used up all the wool, so she used it to make the scarf, and the scarf was really, really long, and they decided to keep it. They decided to keep the scarf, which I think was was the right move because that scarf is iconic, and I mean even Stephen Moffat said it that he hasn't worn that scarf in 40 years, but it's still the most iconic piece of Doctor Who clothing. It's like when people think of the Doctor, they think of that giant scarf that Tom Baker wore for 7 seasons.
Yeah, I love this hallway shot of the ship. It actually looks quite impressive for the time.
Yeah, I mean, funnily enough, I mean, what's interesting about this season is they reused this set for Revenge for. They reused this set here for Revenge of the Cybermen, and it's kind of interesting. This sort of starts a sort of story arc because in the next story, Sontaran Experiment, which we already commented on, you've got that's kind of set at the same time as this story. And then you've got Revenge of the Cybermen, which returns to this place, but many thousands of years before the story is set. So, that's interesting.
Oh,
A gastropod? Oh, God.
God.
Yeah, maybe that's where they got it from, the Twin Dilemma.
Lee, he left the gas on.
Yeah. Yeah. Unfortunately, this isn't the third story, it's the second story. I mean, I like the fact that Harry gets more to do in this story. Like, that stuff with Sarah Jane that she sort of knocked out and she's put inside that thing. so we don't see her till later. So I kind of like the fact that Harry gets more to do in this story.
Yeah, Harry's a good character. I mean, yeah, as we said, he's kind of pointless in the overall season, but he gets quite a lot to do in this one. And I think this could be actually Ian Martin's best performance, or one of his best performances. He's quite heavily involved in Terror of the Zygons. That's probably because that's his last story. But yeah, he's not the best, but like I like him. He's decent, you know.
Yeah, I mean, he does return in Android Invasion, but he's like a replica of Harry Sullivan. He's not really the main. He's not really a main companion in that. But yeah, no, I mean, I think the story itself here, it does a good job of building suspense and the sort of claustrophobia in this story. I think works really well. Like, you sort of got that feeling that, you know, well, like they said in Alien in Space, no one can hear you scream. And it's kind of the same with this story.
Had went to the whiplash doctor, most part of the scream.
Yeah, we'll have to do a commentary on that someday.
Yeah, let me get my whip.
Yeah. It's quite funny that the Doctor sort of talking down to Harry. He's like, "Oh, your mind's beginning to work, Harry. It's all down to me, of course. You can't take any credit." Yeah.
I really like the set design. I think this is one of the best aesthetically looking Doctor Who stories in the classic era. Arguably, like when the classic series allowed itself to have a budget. I mean, you know, the fact of having a low budget is not bad. It's what they do with it, and they've really utilized what they can to make the story feel so, you know, atmospheric. I mean, look at that. That's pretty amazing. That shot.
Yeah. Yeah, this is a great moment, and it's a great set, and I love Tom Baker's speech coming up here in a minute. I think it's one of my favorite speeches in Doctor Who, and yeah, I mean, they've done a really good job of the set here. Like, you see all these like human bodies stored away, and yeah, and the Doctor's talking about, you know, the humans and like why are they like cryogenically frozen here. He doesn't understand why, but of course we'll find out in a minute why. But yeah.
Mm.
Well, here's the speech.
Oh.
Homo sapiens.
Homo sapiens.
It'll be a few million years since they crawled up out of the mud and learned to walk. Few defenseless bipeds.
Oh, the Doctor loves humans.
They've survived flood, famine, and plague. They've survived cosmic wars and holocausts. Here they are, out among the stars, waiting for life. Ready to unsit eternity.
Oh yes.
Great speech. Definitely, I think one of the best Doctor Who speeches, and they even reference it in Utopia when I think David Tennant says, "Oh, human beings, indomitable." Yeah,
Yeah, they do actually. That is a nice reference.
Yeah.
50,000 years, 100,000. Time is immaterial. Amazing sight. The entire human race in one room. All colors, all creeds, all differences finally forgotten. Its chosen descendants.
Mm.
This operation must have been meticulously planned.
So it's kind of interesting how the human race has gone into cryogenic sleep for thousands of years.
Yeah. They saw the COVID pandemic coming and decided to self-isolate early.
Yeah.
Fucking COVID.
Yes, the great pandemic of 2020.
Boris Johnson announces that we all must stay at home and control the virus, protect the NHS, and save lives.
Can you imagine Boris Johnson as a doctor? We must get the Daleks done. We must get Brexit done.
So it's all stay at home, regenerate, and save our lives. Once we have COVID, if you get COVID, you must regenerate before the disease is allowed to spread across your body. If you cannot get the jab, then please regenerate and save lives. It'd be crazy.
Yeah. It's interesting as well that this alien has gone on board the ship, and that's like what's leaving this like trail of slime. But yeah, I mean, I think you're right about the set here. I think it really holds up. Like even today, I think it's a really good set. Like, and it looks great. I mean, it really does. I think that you could tell they've spent the budget with this story.
Oh yeah, definitely. It's definitely one of the most it's one of the best looking stories that has a budget. Yeah. I love the tension, like as well. It's such a great build up. This first part, it's very easy to get kind of immersed in this one.
Yeah, exactly. Oh shit!
Oh, don't forget the bug spray.
I've got ants in my pants.
God, Timothy Dalton.
Yeah, no, I think that first part has just flown by, and the pacing for this one is really good. Never a dull moment.
Yeah, I mean, we've still got 3 parts to go, but it should only go up from here.
Yeah, it's interesting as well how Sarah Jane has been put in that cryo sleep. But yeah, Roger Murray Leach did a really good job with this story, designing it, and the direction by Rodney Bennett. And then, of course, we go back to the standard title sequence for the rest of the story. Whoa. Yeah, and the intro title sequence looks really good in HD as well.
Oh, it does. Yeah, it's interesting how well the restoration works. Sometimes for these old shows, it doesn't always work, especially with the way they shoot them. But no, this one has worked a treat.
Yeah, I think you could tell with the Blu-ray sets, the Doctor Who restoration team, they've gone out of their way to try and make these Blu-rays as good as they can. So, they'll get the film parts that still exist, and double the bit rate of the videos, so you get that sort of clearer looking picture. But yeah.
I mean, okay, you can look at the beetle creature or whatever it is and laugh at it a bit, but still, it's I have to give him credit for trying. It's a pretty good effect.
I think personally the Wirren looks pretty good, and I think there'll be some fans who can't get into the classic series because of the dated special effects and stuff like that. But I mean, personally, I think what I admire about the classic series is that they always try to do their best with a very small budget, and I think you could tell that they were definitely trying their best, and I think it's more what the classic series lacks in special effects they make up with in terms of like story, and I think they do a good job with the story most of the time in the classic series. I mean, there are exceptions, there are some bad stories, but for the most part, I think the classic series, where maybe the effects don't hold up as much, the story holds up, which is something you can't really say about some of the new series stories, especially the Moffat and Chibnall. Yeah, the Moffat and Chibnall stories, they may have the big budget and the special effects, but they don't have the story there And without the story, well then, it's just all you have is some nice special effects, and that's really it. But
Kind of a convoluted mess.
yeah,
I mean, that's the thing. Like, even if the execution of like the aesthetics is cheap, if you back it up with a good idea, and if you find a way to make it work for the story, then people could be forgiving. And this story, I think, certainly executes itself well on a cheap budget, and gives you the illusion that it isn't as cheap as it looks. Well, sorry, that it isn't as cheap as you might think. And the script itself is very, very solid. So yeah.
My name is
yeah.
I'm a first.
Well, I'm delighted to hear it. You see, just the
I'm delighted to hear it.
Yeah, I mean, I think personally, the cheap sort of special effects for me sort of, I think that's sort of the charm of the classic series, and that's why I kind of prefer it in some ways, because they had to build models, they had to build intricate sets, they didn't have CGI to rely on, and I think a lot of the time, models and practical special effects hold up better than CGI, because CGI tends to date worse. Like, you look back at some CGI now, and you kind of think to yourself, well, it doesn't really hold up. But whereas like practical effects, models and stuff, it still holds up compared to some CGI. So
yeah, I mean, miniatures are very rarely used now in films, which is a real shame. Yeah, I wish that more practical effects could be. I mean, CGI is good, especially to have like in the background, and obviously certain effects have to be done in CGI, but it's about the way you use it. But yeah, a lot of films do rely on it. I mean, some films are CGI animated, that's different, but yeah, I kind of wish that, I mean, certainly like a film that I can use as an example is Lady and the Tramp, the remake. All the dogs are digital. Why? I mean, it's just lazy. Like, yeah, they should just use real dogs.
yeah, it's interesting here how they're trying to revive Sarah Jane, and I mean, talking about films that do use practical effects. I mean, I think the new Star Wars trilogy, they were trying to go back to more practical effects. So I think practical effects are sort of making a comeback, even though they still use CGI. But no, I mean, I think this stuff here is interesting. I like the story for this. I mean, the whole idea of human race and cryostasis, and then them being sort of selected, to come back, and yeah, and that definitely is a reference to Noah. The guy here. His name is. They say his name is Lazar, but they nickname him Noah because of the Bible. They nickname him that, for a joke. But yeah.
Imagine if they called him Laszlo.
There's not much joke in the last days.
Laszlo, what have they done to you?
Yeah, it'd be weird to have the pigs. Well, I guess if you had the pig slaves in there, it'd be pig slaves in space. Instead of the pigs in space, yeah.
She's a good actress.
Yeah.
The only thing I'll say about the story is perhaps Sarah doesn't get as much to do as I would have liked, but I guess they wanted to give Harry some more focus. It's only a nitpick, but maybe Sarah could have done a bit more, but this is still a really good story.
I mean, for the first part, she gets put in that cryo sleep, but for the rest of the story, I think she gets, quite a bit to do. So, I mean, especially later on when, she's trying to help out the doctor, and the doctor's sort of teasing her, and yeah. But no, I mean, I think Tom Baker here, though, he definitely I don't know if this story would have worked with another doctor. Like, I couldn't honestly see Davison being convincing in this story as a doctor.
Well, when is Davison convincing? Other than his, well, no, okay, to be fair, his last story. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean,
need a moment to catch my breath.
Yeah. And this, like, slug things, whatever it is. I mean,
Sorry, I mean, I have to laugh at that. That is kind of funny. Seeing it just
Yeah.
crawl on the floor like that.
yeah. I mean, the interesting thing is though, it's made of bubble wrap, and when this story came out, bubble wrap was like brand new. Like no one had really seen bubble wrap before. It was like a new invention. So, like people nowadays would just say, "Oh, it's bubble wrap," but back then, you know, when this story came out, bubble wrap was a brand new thing in the market. It had never been released before, so you
No.
gotta like remember it in the context of that. And you know, even though some of the effects are a bit dated, I think some of the body horror aspects of this I still think work quite well. There's a scene later on where Noah, you know, you see his like hand turn into this like, you know, thing, and it's, you know, it's basically green bubble wrap, but I mean it's still kind of horrifying in some ways. Like, yeah.
Mm. I mean, bubble wrap. Like everyone loves the sound of bubble wrap. That's kind of what draws them into it. But yeah, this is the first time I've seen them try to make bubble wrap scary.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like I said, it was like a new thing at the time. So, you know, nowadays we kind of look back at it and you might laugh, but I mean, I suppose, you know, at the time they were trying something.
Doesn't mean you can wrap it around your cock.
Yeah. Yeah. It's not the tree bark in space. Yeah.
Lee, it's winter time.
Yeah. I mean, the guy who plays Noah in this, you know, the commander. I mean, I think he's a pretty good actor, and it's pretty it's pretty disturbing to see his like transformation into this like creature later on in the story. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, it's definitely I mean, I suppose for kids back then, this would have been pretty horrifying.
Terrifying, yeah. And I can see where maybe the inspiration for the alien scene, the transformation comes from.
Yeah.
Noah. Well, I can't wait to meet Jesus and Moses in the story.
I mean, it is, like she said, it's not his real name. They just call him that for a joke. But yeah.
Noah.
I mean, I think they do a good job with the story as well, because it's all set, you know, it's all shot in studio, and they do a good job with the studio setting. Like, they managed to make this story like feel claustrophobic. Like, you get that sort of claustrophobic feel with this because it's all set on board the ship, and you've got this creature going about killing people. So.
Hmm.
You will revive soon.
Well done, Doctor. Be delighted. Where is?
Oh.
Anyways, so the stats.
Yeah, I mean, I think maybe the Alien should admit that maybe they got a bit from this. Maybe Ridley Scott, I'll say in the future that maybe he got something from this. I don't know, but yeah.
Yeah. Alien. I'd love to see that movie.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's nice that we it's nice with, you know, Tom Baker's era that we, you know, we come back to the story set in time and space, you know, because the Time Lords exiled them to Earth with the war games, and then John Pertwee, most of his eras, you know, is exiles on Earth. So it is nice with Tom Baker that we go traveling the stars again, and, you know, have more adventures in time and space. And, you know, his era, we sort of see goodbye to UNIT as a regular thing in his era. But I mean, of course,
Yeah.
Brigadier returns a couple of times in the classic series, but yeah.
I mean, UNIT were great. Don't get me wrong, they really were. But it probably was time to reduce their screen time. Certainly once, okay, fair enough. They had to be in Robot for obvious reasons because it was directly after Planet of the Spiders. But yeah, no, it's good that Tom's era goes back to this sort of tradition of traveling around in space and time, which I think is what the fans wanted. So I think they knew that. And, we'd had 5 seasons of Jon Pertwee, so not that all of it was on Earth, but most of it. So yeah, it was time for a change.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think Hinchcliffe did a really good job with this story because it was his first time as producer, and he was pretty young when he was producer. I think he was like 29 when he got the gig of being producer, and I think him and Robert Holmes, I personally think they went in the right direction by making the series more grown up, and more mature. And I like the fact that, we have some horror stories in there, like Brain and Morbius and stuff like that in this story, And I think it works. I think it that change in direction definitely worked, and it's a shame that, Hinchcliffe was moved on after Talons of Wing Chiang, because maybe we could have got another season. Could have got another season with him as producer, but it wasn't meant to be.
Well, still, 3 seasons is a great amount. What's his name? Graham Williams, is that the next guy?
Yeah.
He's still pretty good. He did a good job, but the show definitely lost some of the quality in writing. But it wasn't a train wreck as such, but there were bad stories.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair to Graham Williams, he had a lot of problems while working on the show, a lot of production problems. So, there's still some classic stories in there in his era, like City of Death. So, that's good. And his era, did get the highest ratings of the show's history. So, that's pretty good as well.
Ugh. Oh no, bubble wrap!
At least it's not bubble gum.
Oh, yes. Or the cotton candy glob. One day we have to do a commentary on those movies.
Yeah. That's going to be weird, but yeah.
Yeah. I did kind of enjoy them in my childhood, but looking back at it now, yeah, the first one is fucking awful, but the second was all right. I don't know. I guess, yeah, it was mediocre, but it was better.
Yeah. It's interesting this stuff as well, like he knocks out the Doctor, and you can see he's sort of going a bit crazy, the Commander, because, he thinks that, that's something bad's going down, that the Doctor's trying to deliberately sabotage their mission when, of course, he's only trying to help.
Yeah. This is quite creepy, this scene, actually, how it's the way it's lit and everything. It oozes a good atmosphere, actually.
Yeah. Ugh.
He's infected.
He's got alien bogies now.
God. So does Scrappy Doo.
Yeah.
The Doctor.
One thing I can always say it's great is Lisbeth Sladen. I think in pretty much every story she's in, she's always consistently great, and she definitely, you definitely tell that she cares for the Doctor. Like, the Doctor's her best friend, and she's really concerned that he's like, something's happened to him.
Yeah, I agree. She's just a great all-round actress. She always gives it a all, and you can see the rapport with her and Tom on screen. It's lovely. She had a good rapport with Pertwee, but I think she came in at a time when Pertwee was kind of, I think he was kind of getting a bit tired of of the show, and also his circumstances had changed. Like Katie Manning had left and Delgado passed away, so he wasn't in the best headspace. But they still had a decent chemistry. But her chemistry with Tom is a lot better, I think.
Yeah, I mean, Elizabeth Sladen herself said, Tom Baker was like a wonderful surprise for her, and they were like best friends, and it was quite sad to see. Like, I think last year they interviewed Tom Baker about the last time he saw Elizabeth Sladen, and he can't remember the last time he saw her, but he was very upset talking about her because she's no longer with us. But I mean, I think Elizabeth Sladen, you definitely buy that like on-screen friendship between the Fourth Doctor and Sarah. Like you can really tell that they're like best friends, and that's why I think it's great that they brought her back for School Reunion, because it sort of follows on from the events of the Hand of Fear, where she says, "Oh, you left me," and then she's basically saying to the Doctor, like, I was your best friend. Why'd you leave me? And the Doctor saying, look, like, and he says in that story, and that basically, he moves on. Human beings, age much faster and die quicker, and he didn't want to see Sarah Jane, die in front of him, because Sarah probably would have stayed with the Doctor until she died. But
yeah, well, so would Rose. I love the Doctor.
Yeah,
I love you. Oh, Rose, you whiny bitch.
I mean, I like this sort of conflict here. Like the Commander, he doesn't trust the Doctor and Sarah Jane and Harry because they just arrived, and he thinks they're trying to sabotage this. But yeah.
That guy looks a bit like Richard E. Grant.
I don't like them, but they're silly.
Yeah. I don't like bubble wrap. It's silly.
Yeah, he does look a bit like Richard E. Grant. He has that sort of same facial expression that he had in Stoneman as well. But
oh shit! I didn't realise we've got commenters. Hello, gang. Just to say, A. Smith's Fun Entertainment. We haven't given the link because this is a private stream, but maybe in the future we will give a link to another stream.
Yeah.
But anyway. Hello, Sam. It's nice to hear from you again. Deadly Assassin would be a good. That will be a great commentary to do, definitely. And Daniel Roberts. Hello, Dan. Oh yeah, no, I was only joking about the Doctor and Rose. I don't mind the Doctor and Rose, but I do find Rose a bit whiny at points.
Yeah. Yeah. I think this actor who plays Noah gives a very good performance. Like you can definitely tell that he's like something's going on there mentally. Like he's been affected by this alien, like this infection.
Well, no wonder they called him Noah, because this arc is full of fucking animals.
He's definitely not Bruce Almighty.
I love that film.
It's not advisable to try and
Although the sequel is crap. Evan Almighty. I didn't really like that one.
Yeah. Not very good.
It was just kind of the same thing, wasn't it?
no one thinks it's the word to blend.
I've got the power. Power.
I was supposed to act like it's for a ship now.
I bet you there's the equivalent of a ding.
We are family. I got all my jelly babies with me.
What was Sam saying about a commentary?
Sam,
He
He
said
said
Sam.
he wants us to. He's requesting us to do the Deadly Assassin or Terror of the Zygons. Well, Sam, as soon as they release the standard box sets, I'll buy them, and Jack and I can do more commentaries like this.
Oh yeah, no, I love to do the Deadly Assassin because it's my favorite Doctor Who story, and Terror of the Zygons is my second favorite. So yeah, I mean I've got the season 14 box set, but I mean they haven't released season 13 yet. So
Yeah.
yeah.
So when is season 24 out?
Oh, it's out at the end of June.
Oh,
June's not.
so you'll be rewatching Time in the Rani.
Don't watch it.
No, I won't.
Oh, go on. For old time's sake. It's in HD now.
I'll watch that when I'm dead. I quite like this. You know, it's like, oh, give me the gun. And Tom Baker's stuff there is really great, where he's talking about this eggshell and that he's
Yeah.
found out that this creature has got
She's
aboard
an egg.
the Ark and causing all this mayhem.
Yeah, Dan, I mean, we can do a James Bond hangout at some point. Like a general discussion. I mean, No Time to Die is still yet to come out as well, so there is that. Yeah, I think at some point, Jack, we'll do like an open not commentary, like an open a chat where we can let people in, because a lot of people are asking to come in. It doesn't have to be about Doctor Who or anything, but we could decide what we'll do. Maybe as like a special stream, but we can only have up to 8 people. That's the restriction, guys. So it can only be up to 8 people in one stream, and there's already 2 of us, so we can let 6 people in, but that's it. Oh, it's a pretty freaky ending.
It was a pretty horrifying cliffhanger when you see his hand is turned into this like green bubble wrap thing. But I mean, at the same time, I think that even though it's green bubble wrap, it's still pretty effective. The way he just takes it out of his coat and he, that's a cliffhanger. But yeah, I mean, I think me and you should just stick to the commentaries. But I mean, we could do hangouts with other people. But yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, that's what I meant. Hangouts with other people, not commentaries.
Yeah.
Rodney.
Yeah. I mean, we're halfway through now, so that's pretty good.
Poetry.
Yeah.
This is a really good story. Actually, I probably would change my rating. I'd probably bump it up to a 10, actually. I think maybe it's worthy of a 10.
Yeah.
I don't know what it was when I first watched it. Maybe it was the weather. I think I watched it last year in the summer, and it was very hot. So maybe I was struggling to stay awake for that reason. But I remember finding it a lot slower the first time I saw it. No, I think I'd bump it up to a 10.
Yeah. I mean, would you reissue your review with the bumped up rating?
Maybe. Not right now, but once I've reviewed Peter Capaldi, yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
Probably might start the Matt Smith reviews soon.
Yeah, I look forward to that.
Yeah, it's nearly the end of June, so I think when July hits, I'll kick off with Matt Smith.
Yeah, I mean, personally, I think it'll be fun once you get to Matt Smith. See some of your rants on Let's Kill Hitler and things like that. But yeah,
yeah, there'll be a couple of big rants and maybe some small rants, but there's a few Matt Smith stories I like, so it's not all going to be negative, but it will certainly be different to the David Tennant era, that's for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I think personally his era is a mixed bag. It's not terrible, but it's not like amazing either. It's like 50-50 for me. But yeah. Yeah, but I mean, I like this stuff here, like about the speech, and I think this does a. I think the story is aged very well. For a story that's nearly 50 years old, it still holds up pretty well.
Oh wow, it's 50 years old.
Oh no, I said nearly. It's like 46
nearly 50.
years old. Yeah. 75. So in about 4 years' time, it'll be 50 years old. But
Oh, I hate it when I get bubble wrap stuck on my arm.
Yeah. But I mean, I like I don't know the actor who plays Noah. Like, someone will probably tell me in the chat, but I think the supporting cast here do a really good job because, you got Tom Baker as a doctor, and you got a really good set of companions, but the supporting cast here does a very good job. Like especially the guy who plays Noah, because he's sort of struggling with the fact that he's changing. Like he's no longer human; he's becoming this creature, this Wirren. So yes, it's definitely a interesting idea.
Definitely. Noah. Oh.
Good.
Well, he's selling the terror, that's for sure.
Yeah, I can see why this is Russell's favorite Doctor Who story.
Yeah, again, it's what the show should be, and it's done to the highest quality.
Yeah, I think
I probably would put this in maybe like my top 10 Tom Baker stories. It's very good. Well, definitely top 20, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, Tom has so many stories. I mean, you could do like a top 15, top 20 list.
Yeah. He's a lot of classics in there, and I think this is definitely one of them. And I think it's a story that I appreciate more as I get older.
Yeah.
And
note to self, kids, this is what it sounds like when you're taking a shit.
Well, yeah. Well, I mean, Stephen Moffat and Chris Chibnall could really take a page out of this story. That I think, like I said, you can have the best special effects in the world, but if you don't have a good story, then it's just, it's pointless. I mean, that's the thing. Like classic series.
Alan said about the Star Wars prequels, going to the George Lucas School of Film.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is, you can make a great film or a great, story of Doctor Who with like a really small budget. As so long as you can, tell a good story, then it doesn't matter if you don't have like $1 million budget or whatever. And
Yeah.
I think that's one thing that it's kind of frustrates me a bit about the new series. Like after Russell left, it kind of seems like they focus more on special effects and the spectacle of it rather than focusing on the writing and telling a good story. And I think you need consistent writing for the show to be consistently good.
Yeah, I mean, obviously there are going to be times when it's probably not as good, but you don't want to be consistently terrible. I mean, that's one thing I always admired about Doctor Who when I first got into it was the spectacle. The fact that it was a TV show that dared to be even kind of cinematic in a lot of places, and not just the new series, the classic series, and I believe that it was kind of fantastical and wonderful in that regard. But not every single story can be that, of course. But it is what it is.
Yeah. I like the fact that the Doctor's like, Sarah, you go and help Harry, and Harry's like, yes, come along, Nurse Smith. Well, yeah. I mean, Harry always calls Sarah like old girl or old thing, whatever. Like, it's so funny.
Well, Chris Chibnall would not allow that in his version of Doctor Who. No, we have to be PC.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, this is when Doctor Who was just about telling a good story, not about shoving political correctness down your throat. Yeah.
I mean, even in like series 10, like I've seen parts of it where Bill is going on about how much she's a lesbian all the time. It's like, okay, we get it, but shut up.
Yeah. Oh Jesus. Ugh.
The transformation is really good.
Yeah. I mean, as like a young kid back in the 70s, like it must have been really like horrifying for like kids to see this, like to see this guy like change into this like creature, like, you know, and
Mm.
it's still pretty kind of creepy.
I mean, these are the moments you really want to see in Doctor Who. You really want to see the moments that terrify you. You go, oh, fuck, you know.
Yeah. I like that line there from Vera where she says Noah and I were pair bonded for life. So essentially Noah was going to be our lifelong partner, and now he's this like creature. Like you kind of feel bad for her because, you know, she was obviously like Noah's partner, like romantic partner. And now he's like turned into this like disgusting creature. Yeah.
There's a good supporting cast.
Yeah, I mean, and the thing is as well, like, you know, it's all like pretty interesting as well. Like, you know, you're not sitting there thinking, you know, oh god, when is this going to end? Like the dialogue, you know, the stuff going on in the story, it's all really interesting.
Mm. This is definitely a good Doctor Who story for Halloween. This is one of the ones that a lot of the Philip Hinchcliffe stories I kind of see as ones that would you could watch at Halloween and be terrified of, you know. Even though this one isn't in the Hinchcliffe era, as far as I'm aware, the horror of Fang Rock.
A horror Fang Rock is, yeah. It's sorry, it's not. It's Star of the Graham Williams era. Yeah.
Yeah, that one's pretty scary as well. I mean, I'd watch that at Halloween, you know, with the lights off.
Yeah. Yeah, I think with the Hinchcliffe era, they were inspired by the Hammer horror films, like the Christopher Lee, Peter Cushing, like British Hammer horror films, and that's what they were trying to do. But the show is they were sort of injecting that more like horrific element into it. You know, not too scary, but like, but you know, scary enough. And you know, you definitely, you know, I think you can definitely get the feel, you know, of the horror sort of situation with a story like this or a story like, you know, Brain and Morbius or something. You get that sort of horror vibe off it, and I think it works really well.
Definitely. And then very occasionally, with certain stories, they might even go to sort of epic lengths, like Caves of Androzani, which is arguably one of the most epic Doctor Who stories ever, and it's Davison's finest hour.
Yeah. I like the character of Vera as well. Like, she sort of stands up to the Doctor. The Doctor's saying, look, you know, we don't have long. This creature's going to wipe out the whole of humanity. And she's saying, look, you know, we've got to protect this Ark and protect the people.
Genesis Ark.
I mean, I just think Tom Baker is just absolutely killing it as a Doctor. He's just doing a really, you know, fantastic job here. You know, he's very confident in the role, and he's, you know, he's in command of the situation here, and he's just great.
Yeah, he's a man who also he gets off on it. He enjoys the thrill and the adventure and the danger, and that's the thing with the Doctor. It keeps him going back, and I like that they emphasize that.
Yeah.
Also, in the future, if possible, one story I'd love to do a commentary on is Midnight, the David Tennant story.
Oh yeah, I'm definitely up for that. Yeah.
That story is just so good.
Yeah. Another like really great claustrophobic horror kind of Doctor Who story, and
I'm so glad that story has won me over. It's probably now arguably like what my second or third favorite David Tennant story. It's that good.
Yeah, it's really good. Yeah, and definitely one of the best scripts that Russell T Davies has written. But I mean, I like the stuff here, like with Harry Sullivan, like you know, he's sort of dissecting this insect, and he's telling the Doctor about the biology of this insect, like it's a weird sort of lung structure. So it's nice that Harry, you know, gets to use the sort of skills as a doctor, and got the Doctor, you know, trying to, you know, find out what's going on here. So.
Ugh. Well, we've only got about like 36 minutes left.
Yeah, I mean, it's flown by.
The Horns of Nine one That's a good suggestion, Sam. Yeah. Naimon, oh Naimon, it is I, Soldine.
Yeah, it'll be funny to commentate on that one. Yeah.
God, it would be. I mean, I laugh at that story. It's so silly, like, but it's hilarious. Like Soldine is just one of the weirdest villains in Doctor Who.
Yeah. I can understand why Alan loves that story. You know, he sort of enjoys it in an ironic sense. You know, kind of. I mean, it is like one of those Doctor Who stories that you'll sit down with your mates and you'll have a few pints or whatever and just sort of laugh at it. You know.
Yeah. Oh God. If we did a commentary on the gunfighters, oh, that one would test me.
With rings on their fingers and bells on their toes.
Oh,
Yeah, I definitely think A Town Called Mercy is the better of the two Western stories that Doctor Who's done.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not a disaster, but it's just fucking song.
Yeah.
It's just like tonally, they should have just got rid of the song and stuck to the kind of the like, you know, making it more about the build up to the fight at the OK Corral. But no, it was just weird, that story. It didn't work for me.
Yeah. I really like Tom Baker's line there where he says, you know, it may be quite irrational of me, but human beings are quite my favorite species.
Oh, it's cute.
Yeah. And it's interesting, like, when he gives Vera the gun, he says, if anything goes wrong, don't hesitate, just kill me. And it's interesting, like, how he's, like, they're hooking this up to the eye of the Wirren, and they can sort of see what the Wirren saw before it died. And that's kind of interesting.
Very interesting.
Uh-oh.
I think this story is definitely the second best of the season for me. I still prefer Genesis of the Daleks, but this one is really good. I think that story is just slightly more epic. But,
Yeah, Genesis is my favorite story of the season as well, but this is a very close second. I think this one is really good as well, and yeah, they do a really good job with this story, considering it's Tom's second story. You know, they really, and considering it's the first story that Philip Hinchcliffe produced, they did a really good job of, you know, beginning a new era for the show. And
definitely,
and Tom Baker, this is definitely, I think, one of his best performances as the Doctor. He's very convincing in this one, and he's great speech as well.
Oh yeah, Tom is just—he's never given a bad performance. Although the Leisure Hive is definitely a performance, you can see he's fed up. He doesn't want to be there. But that was kind of the circumstances around him, so I don't entirely blame him for that, to be honest. So
yeah, I kind of blame JNT more for making his life hell, because I think JNT wanted Tom Baker out at that point. So yeah.
I mean, fair enough that Tom had been there a long time and probably was the right time to go after that season, but to kind of, I don't know, be so disrespectful to his doctor is just, you know, stupid. Like, he could have at least said, look, Tom, we're going to think about letting you go after this season. But no, he just, he made him want to go.
Yeah. I mean, look at that. Bloody hell.
Very realistic effects.
Yeah, no, I mean, some of the effects are a bit dated, but I mean, some of the effects here still hold up really well, and you definitely get, you know, the sense of impending doom in this story, like the sense that, you know, the Doctor might not get out of this one.
Yeah. It sort of builds and builds and builds, doesn't it? But I think the stakes are at their highest in Genesis of the Daleks.
Oh. Uh-oh. Yeah, not used to be her boyfriend. Ugh.
The Kraken.
Well, you imagine the doctor just said, "I think it's time to wrap this up."
Not to worry, it's all wrapped up. It literally does look like the Kraken from Pirates of the Caribbean.
Yeah.
One of those worm things from King Kong.
Yeah. Sort of like a caterpillar mixed with a slug sort of thing. Yeah.
All the fucking slugs.
Yeah. Well, thankfully, there's no mess door in this story. Or Sill.
God. I can't stand that character.
Yeah.
Fishing guns have no effect here.
Ooh.
You had to hunt.
I really think they should bring back the Wirren. I mean, maybe not. I mean, maybe if they brought them back, they'd ruin them. But I mean, they're really great. Alien. I think I think they. If Russell brought them back, I think he would have done a really good job.
Yeah, I agree.
It's death. It's task. It's time.
I love the way Tom plays it because it's like you can tell he's thinking like 1,000 different thoughts at the same time, and that's pretty convincing for an actor of his caliber to get across.
Yeah, you definitely get that alien quality of Tom Baker, and what I love about his doctor is that even though his doctor can be very like eccentric and silly and often people jelly babies, he can also be very like this story. He could be very serious when he needs to be, and he can be very dark as well when he needs to be. He's that nice sort of mixture of being dark but also being also being eccentric and sort of funny as well, and he definitely sells it in this story.
He's got a huge range for this part, and that's really commendable. It's only his second story, and he's already kind of showing that, which is amazing.
Yeah. And I think he's probably born. David Tennant said it. I think he's right. I think Tom Baker was probably born to play the Doctor. He knows this character inside out, and he did a really good job with the part that he stayed there. For 7 years, and I mean he absolutely adored the show, and I
Well,
can
for the
see
most
why.
part.
I mean, yeah. He only lost interest towards the end because JNT and sort of some behind the scenes troubles that he had. But I mean, he's gone on record saying that it was the happiest 7 years of his life playing that role. So
Oh,
yeah,
that's lovely, and I think he knew that it was time for him to go anyway. Like that he couldn't do it forever.
yeah,
He left at the right time, I think, even though the circumstances surrounding his exit were a little bit haywire, but still, at least he had a decent exit. Yeah,
yeah. And he's still the Doctor in Big Finish, which is great. He's done like tons of Big Finish audio, so like
Hmm.
I mean, his TV appearances, aren't the end of his Doctor. He's still got all those Big Finish audios that
Yeah.
he's done. So
That's
I
the
mean,
lovely thing about playing the Doctor is that even if you leave the show, it stays with you for the rest of your life because you can go back and do audios. It's just brilliant.
yeah, exactly. Like McGann, for example, he only has a TV movie and neither Doctor. Those are his only on-screen appearances. But with Big Finish, his Doctor's, has much more life. He's done tons of Big Finish, and I'm grateful for that because if we only had the TV movie and neither Doctor and that's it would have been a crying shame. So those Doctors that didn't get as much screen time, like Eccleston and
Yeah.
Colin Baker and McGann, they sort of got a new lease of life.
Yeah. It's good that I think most of the Doctors have done Big Finish. There's only very few that haven't, I think.
Yeah, I mean, of course, the first three couldn't do it because they died before Big Finish was set up, and I don't think Matt Smith and Peter Capaldi have done Big Finish yet. But I think in the future, Matt Smith and Peter Capaldi will probably
Yeah,
eventually do Big Finish.
I know. I think David Tennant has done some, but I know
Yeah.
like Davison, Colin, and McCoy. I think they've definitely done it as well.
Yeah. Ugh. Ugh. Bloody hell.
He's fully converted now. Mm.
Yeah.
I mean, thank God Eccleston decided to, come back and do Big Finish. I think as well because he's been more open about his exit now. The fact that he didn't like the way the show was being run, and I can understand from what he described. I can understand why he thought that, and I guess he fell out with Russell T Davies over that. But still, he played the Doctor for 1 year. That's longer than McGann, so there you go. But yeah, Big Finish welcomes him and his northern accent.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, he wasn't the first Northerner to play the Doctor. I actually think Tom Baker was the first Northerner. He's from Liverpool, but I mean, you wouldn't tell because he went to RADA, so he
Mm.
lost his sort of working class Liverpool accent. But yeah,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
of course, you had McGann before that as well.
And that's the thing, yeah. There's quite a few Northerners that have played it. Like even now, so there's Eccleston, and now Jodie Whittaker's doing it. McGann,
Tom Baker.
Tom Baker, yeah. And there's been a few Scots as well. There's been McCoy and there's been Peter Capaldi, I think. So, yeah.
And Tennant.
Oh, yeah, and David Tennant as well, although he did the English accent.
Yeah. But I mean, yeah, I think this creature is really creepy. Like it looks like a bit like a cockroach mixed with some other kind of insect.
Yeah. It's not actually that bad. It's quite well designed for the time.
Yeah. Oh.
So you're on a break from Doctor Who reviews now, or are you going to start Capaldi?
Oh, I'm on a break. I mean, I'm not going to review it for a while. So
That's fair.
yeah.
I mean, you've spent a long time on Matt Smith, so I don't blame you. And I'm not going to bother with the mini-sodes of Matt Smith. Maybe I'll review them later, but there's just fucking too many.
Yeah. Ugh.
I mean, I'm not looking forward to rewatching Let's Kill Hitler or Asylum of the Daleks, and also the Doctor, the Widow, and the Wardrobe. Well, that one. It kind of cracks me up because of Cyril, but it's such a dumb episode. It's just so dumb.
I like all the stuff here with the Wirren explaining, what they're gonna do. They're gonna, they're gonna populate. They're gonna, kill the humans and take their knowledge and stuff. I mean, it's pretty interesting, like how they're gonna come back as a species. And they sort of blame humanity for their species being killed off. But yeah.
Yeah, it's a good story. It's very well written and plotted. Robert Holmes should be impressed.
Yeah.
Maybe
that's his baby ass.
A beautiful baby, probably.
It's kind of interesting what the Wirren's saying to Vera, because there's still some of Noah inside the Wirren. He's basically saying, just leave the Ark, get out of here, just save yourself. And he says, if not, you're all just going to die. You're all just going to be killed off.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the pacing for this has been really good. I mean, it hasn't felt like that long. It's gone by pretty quickly.
Yeah, so I think 4 parts is really the best length for a classic story.
Yeah.
I mean, some of the longer ones work. Some of them do really work, but others are a bit too long.
I mean, I think Genesis of the Daleks works at 6 parts, and
Yeah,
yeah,
Inferno works at 7. It's the best 7-parter in Doctor Who. A lot of other stories are good, but they do tend to. Like, I just imagine, like, bloody hell, like if they aired all these episodes, like when they aired them, you'd have to wait nearly 2 months to find out the the end of the story. It's like, oh, that's just too long. But yeah.
I mean, we're lucky with DVD and Blu-ray; we can just watch it all in one go, But I mean, back then, imagine the Daleks Master Plan. You had to watch that over like 3 months.
Yeah.
Yeah, till
I
the
mean,
story
fair enough.
ended.
It's an epic story and worth it, but yeah, 3 months. And also with the Christmas special as well in between. It's like, oh, wow, that's long.
Yeah. I like the stuff with the Doctor here. He's saying if we have enough electricity, we can kill the Wirren. We can basically fry them, and yeah, I mean it's kind of interesting for the Doctor because the Doctor, he doesn't really, he's not someone who like just decides to take life for the sake of it. He realizes these creatures are a danger, and that's why he suggests killing them with electricity. But, yeah.
Yeah. Good idea.
Yeah. I mean, I need to rewatch Alien. Actually, this is actually this made me want to rewatch Alien again because Yaphet Kotto passed away recently as well. So it'd be interesting to see the similarities and differences between this and Alien.
Yeah, I mean, Alien is obviously a lot darker and more like bloody and a bit more intense than this, but still, there's definitely similarities with Alien. And actually, I think Alien is the best of the Alien franchise. I mean, Aliens is also very good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't care much for the other movies.
Yeah, Prometheus and all that. Yeah.
I mean, it's a bit like Terminator. I don't really care for the series beyond the second one.
Yeah, and it's funny as well because Cameron directed the sequel Aliens, but yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, one thing I will say is I really like this stuff with Sarah Jane Smith here, where she has to go through this, she has to go for this vent or whatever, and she has to connect this electricity. So it's kind of interesting to see her, get some stuff to do here. Like she has to help, try and take out the Wirren, the creature, and help the Doctor. So I mean, I like that. I like the fact that Sarah, she'll do anything to help out the Doctor and help out the people on board this ship. But yeah,
she's also very loyal to him as well.
Yeah.
Oh, I just imagine the fans going gaga when she returned in School Reunion with David Tennant.
Yeah, especially the classic fans, people who watched it when she was a companion, like people who watched, with John Pertwee and Tom Baker. They must have been over the moon when she came back to the show. And I mean, it's such a shame now that she's gone. I mean, she's been gone 10 years, and she died at such a young age of cancer. But I mean, I'm glad that she did return many times to the new series, and she got her own show, the Sarah Jane Adventures. So I'm glad that she did go on to have a big career. After Doctor Who, she came back and she got her own spin-off show. It just shows how popular her character is. But yeah.
Yeah, and we still remember her. Rest in peace, Liz.
Yep. Oh, what's the Doctor doing?
really.
I have to point out, I really like the soundtrack for this. Like, I think the soundtrack for the story is really good. I think Dudley Simpson, I think he did a score for this. I think he did a really good job here with the soundtrack. You definitely get that atmospheric feel with the soundtrack in this story.
Yeah, the music is amazing, and it definitely adds to the atmosphere. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Unlike some of the stories that come in the 80s.
Yeah. Yeah. Unfortunately, JNT got rid of Dudley Simpson in his infinite wisdom. Not. Oh, yeah. No, but this scene here is really tense where she's climbing through this vent. You know, I mean, I like the fact that, yeah, Sarah Jane gets more to do in the story. Like, she has to sort of face her fears and go through this vent and help the doctor, you know.
Yeah, they make a very good team.
Yes.
Now it's the second opening we come to on your left. Understand?
Yeah, they did a good job with the sets here as well. Like you said, I mean, all the like controls and stuff. You know, it still holds up.
Yeah, it definitely holds up. Come on, old girl. Hurry.
This is a great scene.
I like the scene.
Stop whining, girl. You're useless.
Oh.
Something you can say for yourself? Stupid, foolish girl. I should never have relied on you. I knew you'd let us down. That's the trouble with girls like you. You think you're tough, but when you're really up against it, you've no guts at all. Hundreds of lives at stake, and you lie there blubbing.
I love how he just manipulates her a bit. Says that just to get her through.
Yeah. Yeah, he just does this to, like, yeah, you know, get her through, and it's a great scene.
Her job, anyway.
And he's like, I was only encouraging you. I mean, it worked. It definitely worked. And that's a great scene. It's a great sort of. I think that scene definitely shows their friendship. Like the doctor saying, "Oh, you're useless. You're this. You're that," and then she's like, "Oh, I'll prove to you, doctor. I'll prove to you that I can get through this." And then she does, and you know, oh shit.
Oh dear.
One thing I will say as well is I think it's good with Sarah Jane, you know, with the Fourth Doctor, that she isn't going on about feminism all the time. Like in Pertwee's last season, she was, you know, a journalist and she was sort of going on about feminism. I think Elizabeth Sladen said to Philip Hinchcliffe with, you know, Tom Baker's first season, could you just sort of drop that stuff? And I think it works a lot better, you know. You just focuses more on the fact that, you know, Sarah and the Doctor are just, you know, friends.
Yeah, exactly. There's no need to really sort of draw on it.
Oh no, there are two Warrens.
Lovely.
Buy one, get one free.
Tom Baker.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, they're just magic together Tom Baker and Elizabeth Sladen. They're just really great. You know, I can just watch them forever. They're just really, really good together.
And she stayed quite a while into his era as well, like the 2 seasons and a bit.
Yeah. Ugh. Warren's after them.
Fucking bugged.
Yeah. Someone called the bug exterminators.
I love his glee, like the glee on his face.
Yeah, I love that line. He says, "Oh, cheer up, we're still on our feet." Yeah. Yeah, I mean, what's interesting though is Elizabeth Sladen left after Tom Baker's. Like Tom Baker said, he wished Elizabeth Sladen stayed longer because she thought that Philip Hinchcliffe wanted a new companion in, so that's one of the reasons why she left. And I think Tom Baker sort of found it a little bit hard to cope after she left because I mean he initially didn't get on that well with Louise Jameson as Leela. I mean, eventually they became friends, but I think initially when Elizabeth Sladen left, he found it a little bit tough because she was like a really good friend. They were best friends. So
Yeah, Tom had a lot of good friendships with his companions, and particularly one very close to Lala Ward.
yeah, well, they were more than just friends. Well,
Friends with benefits.
yeah.
The Ark is of no value to you, man. It's human. So why don't you just leave us in peace? Humans require 2 muscles of oxygen a day to stay alive. We will live for years without it.
Ooh.
If you refuse to surrender,
Surrender.
Oh, he's gonna get rid of the oxygen.
Can't breathe.
the women hate all humans. Once we step outside the chamber, we'll be attacked. I am the sworn leader. I guarantee your safety.
Ooh.
Spare your lives.
The
Ugh.
voice is actually pretty good as well.
Any part you will still use. If you've any memory of the man you once were, leave the Ark. Leave the swarm to space. That's where the women belong, brother. Not on Earth.
Mm.
Where you were born.
I like how smart these villains are as well. Like they'll get rid of the oxygen to kill them, and they're saying, "Look, we'll spare your lives. Just let us kill these other humans." And the Doctor's saying, "No."
Yeah. Where is that bug spray?
Yeah. Someone needs to call in Antipesto.
Oh, oh, I love that film.
Yeah. Yeah, this is definitely, one of the highlights of this era of the show. Because
Oh yeah, definitely.
and the tension's still ramping up as well because you've got these Wirren trying to kill them.
Go on, do it. Do it.
And you imagine the Emperor just showed up and fought the Doctor.
Yeah. On the lemons and jelly babies.
Would you like a jelly baby?
Baker. Dun, dun. Thank you, my master. Rise.
My imagination seems to be getting stuck in here.
Mm. Ooh. Well, the Wirren are trying to get in.
Let's go home.
Ugh.
Space more rapidly out and broken
Oh dear.
How long will it take them to reach our control deck?
I mean, bugs have never been a big fan of bugs, if I'm being honest. Insects.
No. Who is? I mean, some of them are a bit annoying. Others are okay. As long as they will leave you alone, you can kind of look at them and admire them. But yeah.
Say, Doctor.
Yeah. Run, girl, run. Yeah. This is definitely, I think, where Tom Baker's era kicks into gear, really kicks into, top gear.
Yeah.
Oh, the doctor's gonna get his jelly babies out.
Tonight, the Doctor raises a ladder. Harry dives the TARDIS, and Sarah goes to cryostasis. Down, 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 down. His name's Noah, but he's killed the Stig.
That's a really good impression.
Thank you. Well, Jeremy Clarkson's a see you next Tuesday. I think anyone can impersonate him by now.
Yeah.
You heard the story about how he got fired. He punched
Yeah. We're not getting a mistake. Yeah.
a very big mistake.
You know, as you say that guy just punched the doctor there. Perfect timing.
Good timing, eh?
Yeah.
She's
Knocked
an egg.
him out.
Go on home and have your lovely beans on toast.
Yeah. Uh-oh. Sarah thinks the doctor's dead. Oh. Braveheart, Sarah.
Logan's dead.
Logan's dead.
You're safe.
Oh, that's really nice. You really see that friendship that she has with the doctor.
Yeah. They really do have a nice chemistry, and I actually think the supporting cast really are some of the best. Like, is it Vera? Yeah,
Yeah.
she's great.
Oh, that's interesting. The wearing just, Noah just said goodbye, Vera.
No, deliberately neglected to see the rocket stabilizers.
So he sacrificed himself. Yeah. Pretty powerful.
Mm.
Mankind is saved.
Must get past the
Mankind is safe.
You could have some jelly babies with somebody else.
Tonight, Tom conceives a jelly baby. I drive my purple Porsche into a parking space.
Yeah, the park in space.
Very clever. Nice.
I love that hat he wears. That outfit is just classic.
It just completes his look. It really does.
Yeah, and of course this leads into the Sontaran experiment, which we did a commentary on the other day. So, if you want to hear our thoughts on the Sontaran experiment, if you haven't already listened to it, it's on the channel, so it's in the playlist.
Thank you. Sam says, he'd take the Doctor and Rose over the Doctor and Clara any day. Well, yeah, I mean, even though the Doctor and Rose is a romance, but there you go.
Yeah. That's a nice ending to the story where he, chucks her a packet of jelly babies and then they get transported. That's a nice, humorous way to end the story. So, yeah.
Like, it's not completely soulless and intense. There is there's a nice little bit of humor there from Tom.
Oh, it's Kenton Moore who plays Noah.
Roger Moore.
Yeah.
Well, that's the arc in space.
Yes,
So-
it is.
Jack, what do you have to say about this story?
Well, I mean, what can I say that hasn't already been said by a lot of people? I think it's a really fantastic Doctor Who story. I think I definitely think it's one of the best. Oh, there's a nice bit with Tom Baker at the end.
Tom Baker.
But no, I think the Ark in Space is a classic Doctor Who story. I think it's a really good story to introduce Philip Hinchcliffe as a new producer, and from here on, most of the stories in his era are going to be fantastic. And you get a lot of classics to come, like Genesis and Deadly Assassin and stuff like that. And his era, I think, is for me, Philip Hinchcliffe's era is the best era of the show, and I think the story just really is. It's fantastic. I mean, I can see why the fans love it. I think Russell T Davies and Stephen Moffat said it's their favorite Doctor Who story, and Tom Baker said it was his favorite Doctor Who story that he did, and I can see why. It's a really great story. Very claustrophobic. I love the sets. I think the sets are great. The soundtrack is brilliant. Tom Baker has that great speech, Homo sapiens, it's only been a few thousand years since they've climbed out of the mud. They're indomitable, Great speech. I think the aliens here are great, the Wirren, and I think the characters, the supporting cast are great, like Vera and Noah, and how he becomes this mutated creature, how he slowly becomes this Wirren, and you see throughout the whole story that he's sort of struggling, he's trying to resist becoming this creature, and eventually it consumes him and becomes the Wirren. And I think the story here is just really great. I mean, I really like the idea of humanity. It's been in cryo sleep for thousands of years, and the Earth's been affected by solar flares. And I just think Robert Holmes did a really good job here. And I mean, the only nitpicks I could say is maybe some of the special effects, like the bubble wrap, is a little bit dated now. But that doesn't damage the story at all for me, because I mean, the classic series, you have to accept the fact that they have a smaller budget, and bubble wrap was a new thing.
Most of the time.
Yeah, and bubble wrap was a new thing back in 1975, and I think the story holds up very well. I think honestly, it's paced tremendously well. I mean, it's 4 parts and it zips by. It's just it's a cracking good story. It's a
Cracking story, Gromit.
yeah, yeah. It's a ripping yarn. It's it's a great Doctor Who story. It really is. I think Tom Baker as well is great in this. I mean, it's the second story, but I think he really cements himself as a Doctor here. Like I said, the speech is great, and he's just great throughout the story. I also think Elizabeth Sladen's very good as Sarah Jane. Like that scene where she's climbing through the vent, and the Doctor's trying to motivate her by getting her angry. And Ian Marter is very good as Harry Sullivan. This might be his best performance or one of his best. And yeah, like I said, the supporting cast are great. The soundtrack, pretty much everything about this is top notch. I really don't have any flaws with it. So I'll close up by giving the Ark in Space a well-deserved 10 out of 10.
Woo! Yeah, well, I can't really add much more to that. That's pretty much how I feel. Initially, when I first saw the story, I gave it a 9 out of 10. I don't know why. Maybe I was in a different mindset when I watched it last year, but I remember watching it on a hot summer's day, so maybe that had something to do with it. But yeah, absolutely agree. This is a great Doctor Who story. The set is amazing. One of the best sets that I've seen in the classic era. Tom is great. On form as the Doctor, coming into his own. Ian Marter as Harry is also good. Elizabeth Sladen is really good as Sarah Jane. The supporting cast are actually very good, especially Vera. I think Vera and Noah are the standouts, particularly Noah, who goes through quite a transformation. I mean, yeah, the effects are a little dated at this point. You do have to kind of laugh it off and forgive it, but there's a nice charm about it. And it's generally quite scary, actually. It still manages to be fairly scary and intense. Like, the story moves at such a consistent pace that you just, it's very easy to be immersed in this one, and very easy to get lost in the moment with this one. And I really like it. I think it's really, really good. And I mean, the beetle creatures, or the ants, or whatever you want to call them.
The Wirral.
Yeah, the Wirral, yeah, thank you. They are slightly dated, but I like the voices. I think the voices are pretty creepy, actually. And the music also adds a lot of atmosphere, too. It's a classic. If I had any complaints, I don't really have any now. I think it's great. So I probably will give it a 10 out of 10. I may issue a re-review of it at a later date because, it's fantastic.
And would you like a jelly baby?
Oh yes, I fucking well would. And it's a great script by Bob Holmes as well. He should be very proud of this one.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's pretty much the arc in space. But Jack, is there anything you wanna say before we call it a night?
Just rest in peace, Elizabeth Sladen and Robert Holmes, who wrote the story.
And Ian Marter.
Yeah, and Ian Marter as well, of course. Can't forget him. And it's a really great story. If you haven't seen The Ark in Space and you haven't seen many Tom Baker stories, I'd highly recommend this. If you're trying to get into the classic series, this is definitely one I would recommend, and it's definitely one you need to see if you haven't seen it yet. I mean, it's definitely one of the best of the classic series and one of Tom's best. So, check it out. So, I mean, that's all I really have to say. And it was fun doing this commentary with you on the story. So, yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, you too. I love doing it too. And I always enjoy the commentaries. So, yeah. Stay tuned next time when we do more commentaries. We'll probably do a commentary on maybe Robot or Genesis of the Daleks next. And then Revenge of the Cybermen if we feel like it. Gradually expect more commentaries on the classic era as time goes on. So yeah, I want to thank you all for watching and listening, and thanks to the guys in the live chat, very much appreciated. And we will see you next time for more commentaries. And thanks very much to Jack as well for joining me. So have a good evening, one and all. I'm Mr. Talos 11. This is Jack the Film Fanatic. See you soon. Bye for now.